while we have to have this.
All right, so we are recording this meeting. There we go. Let me pull my screen back up now. And all right, thanks for coming for our second meeting to talk about traffic calming on Chickasaw Avenue. We met a couple months ago, and we're back just to provide a little bit of an update and next steps about where we go from here, and show you the plan that I've provided for you on the tables. Let's see, so I'll, since some of this is a little bit repetitive in case folks weren't here before, I just wanted to point that out. So we're talking about traffic calming, and we apply these to residential streets. They are typically physical solutions that are installed in the street, and our goal is to reduce vehicle travel speeds and increase safety on residential streets. So we look at this as a street by street basis. So Chickasaw Avenue was selected specifically because of its rank in our prioritization system. So we're not looking at a full neighborhood look, because that gets a little bit more in depth, and we really want to focus our funding and efforts towards streets that have demonstrated a need for traffic calming. But there are other avenues to reach all the departments of Metro Nashville through the hub. So that's where you can put in service requests for maintenance issues, and also request studies of intersections and things like that. So that's an excellent tool. You can call 311 or go to the hub or use the app on your phone. So this is a really in-demand program. We recently had 426 neighborhood streets that had requested traffic calming as of winter 2022, and this Chickasaw Avenue was selected as one of 24 neighborhood projects. When we make that selection, we have to make that selection, we look at a data metric to evaluate street by street. And so we're looking at 4 major criteria: speed, crash history. So we're looking at safety. Both of those two combined form 70% of the scoring that we do. And then we also look at things like active transportation, whether there are sidewalks on the street or not, bike lanes, transit stops, things like that. And then neighborhood destinations, proximity to schools, parks, community centers, where people might be expected to walk to and from a neighborhood street. So it's a 100-point maximum. And basically we look at what scores in the top of that ranking when we make our selection. And the NDOT traffic calming program typically has 50 projects a year. So we separate them 24 or 5 at a time. So Chickasaw Avenue, we're looking at between Jones and Jewel Street was the request, but it really goes to Delmas. So when we measured the speed, we measured the 85th percentile speed to be 38 miles per hour, where it's posted at 25 miles per hour. So the 85th percentile speed means that 85% of the traffic was going that speed or below, and then 15% was going above 38 miles per hour when we measured it on that day. So we also measured the volume, and that's both directions of travel. Just to give you an idea of how much traffic's on the street, we counted about 1,000 vehicles per day on the street. And then the street is about 22, 21 feet wide, and there's no sidewalks. There's a center line, but it's kind of deteriorated over time. There's a map of the street and location relative to Ellington Parkway. So it's between Jones and Delmas. So let's talk about the traffic calming measures that we've recommended for Chickasaw Avenue. The last meeting, we talked about kind of the menu of options, and then we presented a concept plan. This time I'm just going to focus on the measure that we have recommended for the street, which is speed cushions. These are modular devices, the rubberized devices, and they're drilled into the pavement in typically sections sets of 2 or 3, depending on the width of the street. So these allow us some flexibility in how we arrange them in the street. But this picture here is of a set of 2, 1 in each lane. They are 6 feet wide, 7 feet long in the direction of travel. They have some markings on them that are visible at night. That's to show the arrows of direction over them. We will typically install these in a series, not just one on a street, but in a series to get a consistent speed along the street. Yes, question.
This looks good. I'm thankful we reached this point.
Mm-hmm.
But those 2 won't stop the motorbikes flying up down the street.
There are some limitations for what we can do. I understand that
In the middle.
we based on the width of the street, no. This street might actually be a little wider than your street, this picture here, but the width of the street being 21 feet, we think this is the right configuration.
Bikes go about 70.
I understand. We have the gaps in those, and I expect, you know, the motorbikes might cruise through those, but the gaps are really to help provide less impact to emergency vehicles as they need to reach the street. When we install these, we're avoiding driveways. They're not going to be, you know, at the back of your driveway or and cause that kind of nuisance, but they may be, you know, within 15 or about 15 feet away from some driveways. That's what spacing we're trying to achieve. So I'll go ahead and talk about the plan here. This is pretty similar to what we showed in the first meeting, that we're recommending 3 sets on this street. A lot of things went into play, again, driveways, spacing from intersections on how and where we placed these. But as you can see, we've got 1 set between Jones and the all-way stop at Montgomery, and then 2 sets between Montgomery and Delmas, really Montgomery and the overpass over Ellington Parkway. In addition to the cushions, we're recommending to add back or refurbish, restripe the center line striping. That will provide a little bit more narrowing of the street and guidance for staying in the more of a narrow lane and which lane to stay in. And then over the overpass of Ellington Parkway, we're recommending to install white edge line striping. I think it was there before, so we're just put that back and continue to narrow that street. Over to the left, you'll see these 2 signs, these sign examples of what would be placed along with the cushions. And those just advise of speed cushions and the advisory speed of 20 miles per hour. That's what speed we think is comfortable to drive over these, somewhere in the 15 to 20 mile per hour range. Any questions about the plan? Okay. This is just a overview of the layout of the cushions and what that foot spacing is. Basically, the center line is in the middle here, and then the cushions would be about 4 feet apart, and then have about 3 feet on either outside of them to the edge of pavement. So again, the comfortable way to drive over them is straight over them, not one wheel on and one wheel off. They actually have a little bit of taper on the edge, and so that makes it more comfortable to drive over them. So they're 2 sets, and they're 7 feet long. So here we are in our program flow chart of you know, how this program runs, and we're in meeting number 2, so we're closing in on the end of the process. But we started with an application process. Someone applied for traffic calming on the street, and then was evaluated through that prioritization. We had meeting number 1 in August, and we refined our design here, did some more field work to get the exact measurements of where the devices would be placed. and then come back to you at this second meeting just to give another update, another opportunity for anyone who wasn't at the first meeting or just now learning of this, an opportunity to attend and ask questions. And then from here, we will move into the online ballot and then construction. So the balloting process is a 6-week window of voting. So the ballot postcards are similar to the meeting postcards you've been receiving. And they will have access to an online ballot form, and they are mailed to property owners along the affected street. So we will move this project forward if 66% of the people who vote in the ballot, if 66% of those who vote are in favor of the project.
Question.
Yes.
How persuasive can we get knowing the true property owners of this neighborhood? There's a lot of Airbnb, there's a lot of rental, Airbnb. So is there a listing of true property owners that we can, for a horse?
That you can reach out to?
Correct.
I can see if we can provide that information. It is public information. That's where we get it from Metro's address creator tool. So it provides a property owner name and property owner address, as well as the property address for each property.
Airbnbs. I mean, this is just our street. All of the Airbnbs.
Oh, no, they run across the street from there.
There's 2 across the street.
There's Airbnb
I'm
right
talking
across
like
the
big
street.
stuff.
And then there's a rental apartment, there's a rental apartment, and there's a rental apartment. So. Yes, well, if we can get a category of what's rental and what's a true value property, maybe we can.
Because do you mail them out to the street
So-
addresses or do you mail them out to the owners?
We mail them to the owner's address. So the cards are going to the owner's address, and that may be in Nebraska.
Is the owner address addressed it to that community or outward?
It's whatever address is listed in Metro's parcel data.
Yeah.
Right, exactly, in their
Some of these
files.
Apartments may be sent out to, suburban.
Right. They could be going, and we're applying this for all neighborhoods that we're working with, or neighborhood streets that we're working with. And it's been working well. Exactly.
We don't care.
Yeah, that's true. Well, all guesses.
Right, but you know which properties are rentals, it sounds like, so you can reach out to the ones that you think aren't.
But you
Rentals.
say that it has to be like 60%?
It's 66% of the people who vote, not 66% of the street.
Oh, okay, great.
Yes.
Great.
So if they just ignore it.
We're in good shape.
Okay, great.
That's right.
You'll-
And the reason this metric changed with this round of traffic calming projects that were selected. And it's because we don't want absentee landlords to hold up a good project when the people that live there and work there or live there really want it. So so far we've had lots of streets now that have been going to ballot and closing, and it's been going well. There have been some that failed, but not very many, and we're getting a range of turnout of votes, but let's see, so it's a 6-week period of time. So we have a finite closing date that doesn't go on and on and on. So that's another great change that we've made in this last round. And each ballot postcard in this bottom right-hand corner will have a unique ID that matches with the property address. So that keeps us, allows us to know if we have multiple votes from the same household. It's one vote per address, per, unique ID that's on a card. So these QR codes at the top, and there's also a link or on the card, will also have access to the plans online. So these plans will be posted online. So as people are receiving their cards and want to understand the plan, if they haven't been to any of the meetings, they'll still be able to view the plan and vote for or against. So these are the eligible properties on the street. Looks like there's 57 eligible properties. And it goes between Ellington Parkway and Jones Avenue.
Eligible?
Eligible to vote. The property owners.
Well, that looks like a lot of Airbnb.
Yeah, that if the owners can vote for or against, they'll get an opportunity to vote. They will all go to it. They will all get a card. So the next steps we have are to proceed into the online ballot. So what we'll do is send these postcards out in the next 2 or 3 weeks. We will avoid having them arrive on Thanksgiving Day, something like that. But we want to get those out pretty quickly. And so we can then move on to the next step, which would be, if it passes, to order those materials. Got, these materials we don't stock in-house, just they take up quite a bit of space and we just don't have the place to put them. So we do order them as projects are approved. And then that takes 8 to 12 weeks, yes.
So if we're looking for 2 to 3 weeks for the ballots to go out, and then 6 weeks, we're looking kind of mid to late January. Is weather going to hinder this? Like, can they install?
Well, that would be about when your ballot would close, right?
Yeah, so the voting period will close.
And then we'll order the materials and they may take 2 months to receive. And then we would install. Yeah, it does. For this one, it does look like, we might be in the late spring, early summer for the install, which is a great time to do that. If it happens sooner, they can install. In winter months, there's just, if there's ice or snow or something on the ground, that would keep it. And then once we receive the materials, once NDOT receives those materials in hand, then we work with the contractor to get them installed. So that's just getting the work order sent and getting it on the schedules and fitting it in. So that's about an 8-week process. All right. I've included my contact information here, as well as Gil Thomas, the program manager for the traffic calming program for NDOT, and he's been on the call as well. So any questions?
Is Chickasaw due for repaving anytime soon?
That's a great question. So is Chickasaw due for repaving anytime soon? We don't, I don't know that offhand. That is something we do look at when it's time to, when we're ready to install or planning for install, we'll check paving list and coordinate accordingly to try to, be efficient and not waste time and effort. But
Later, then they pull the speed bumps up later and put it back.
that is the beauty of them. That's a great point as well. When the street is repaved and these may already be installed, they will drill them up, they will store them while it's being paved, and then they will put them back.
Is Montgomery still happening?
I don't know.
I have a question.
Yes.
With all of the congestion, has anything been said about a traffic light at Gallatin Road and Delmas? With all of them apartments, condos, whatever they are down there, on that narrow street
Mm-hmm.
trying to get out. Anything that said that.
I'm not, I wasn't involved in that, so I'm not sure, but we can get back to you on that if I get your contact information, or you can put it into the hub. That would be the best. Someone can answer you that might know.
Here down there,
Mhm.
off the building going, and that street curves and,
I mean, it's difficult to get out. Workout facility, when cars park there,
you can't see.
you can't see, and it's gonna be hell. Once those apartments come online, and it's gonna be like 100, apartments available.
If you have a question about that, I would suggest you just put it into the hub and someone might be able to answer you efficiently. That's a great place for a question like that.
So-
All right,
And you're Amy, right?
I'm Amy.
So what's the verb transportation?
Mm-hmm.
What is that?
It's a consulting firm. We're contracted with NDOT to help facilitate and carry out this traffic
So
calming
you
program.
got third party,
So
third-
exactly. I'm a consultant. I'm a traffic engineer by trade, and we're contracted with NDOT to help this program. And I apologize. I don't think I introduced myself at the beginning of the meeting. I'm Amy Birch.
I just wanted to make sure.
So I'm going to stop the meeting stop the recording. Yes.
So your picture.
One more question.
did The, like the spot, this, where they are in is this our exact street? So we are 3 feet, 4 feet, 3 feet, or is this just an average?
No, the question is, for anyone listening on the call, the question is the, let's see, this drawing here, is this your street dimensions? Yes. At the locations where the, cushions are supposed to be placed per that plan, it's 22 feet wide, and that would be the dimensions we would install at. Mhm. Any other questions?
It's thankful we can do this phone.
Yeah, all right. Well, thanks for coming, and I will stop this recording here.